Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Daniel sent me a crazy story involving the post office. KCAL ran this story in California. Woman arrested for counterfeit postage scheme that cost U.S. Postal Service an estimated $60 million. And I can tell you that I'm quite familiar with postage stamps. When I was a kid, I had a stamp collection for a little while. And stamps are kind of cool, you know, they're little artworks, little works of art. And the interesting thing, of course, is that as things have evolved, you can still buy postage stamps if you're still mailing letters. But you can also, of course, get a postage meter. And I had one of the old Pitney Bowes postage meters back in the day, so I could run my own postage. And those things actually had some issues, because if somebody misfired it, you could lose money and not get postage out of it. And I know there's a process where you might be able to get some of the money back, but it was a nightmare. And you had to lease the machine, and it was just stupid. But there are now things advertised by the post office itself saying that you can print your own postage. You download an app and you buy the correct kind of sticky tape, and you print it off and you put it on there, and you mail your stuff. And I've always wondered about that, because if you can do that at home that easily, how hard would it be to do that surreptitiously without going through proper channels, just printing up stuff that looks like postage? Turns out not that hard, because this right here shows a $60 million fraud by doing presumably just that. The woman lives in Walnut, California, has been arrested, and is expected to be arraigned on a federal charge of counterfeit postage that cost the U.S. Postal Service more than $60 million over a 6-month span. Now, you might say, well, Steve, is she mailing $10 million worth of stuff every month? Like, really? What's she doing? Junk mail? Well, no, it turns out that she's got a little scheme going where she's making money by making her service available for other people. She's kind of like a discount post office. So the woman was arrested on Tuesday after postal inspectors with the U.S. Postal Inspection Service and the IRS Criminal Investigation Division found her to be guilty of the conspiracy to defraud the United States and possession and use of counterfeit postage, according to a release from the U.S. Department of Justice. So now here's the thing. It says she's expected to be arraigned, but then the inspectors found her to be guilty. So I don't know if these are allegations or charges yet, but we'll see. The evidence obtained in the investigation shows that she is operating a business which provides shipping and postage services to businesses, including e-commerce vendors operating out of China, that seek discounted U.S. Postal Service rates for mailing their products within the U.S., according to the affidavit in support of the complaint. Multiple examinations conducted by the USPS and the USPS staff have revealed that the vast majority of the postage used by her and her business to ship goods is counterfeit. And the second reference there is to the inspector staff of the United States Postal Service. Her business, located in the City of Industry, received parcels from the vendors and others before shipping labels were applied, showing that the postage had been paid. Parcels were then transferred to various USPS facilities for shipping across the nation, according to prosecutors. Between November 1 and April 30th, a USPS analyst estimates that she and her employees shipped more than 9 million pieces of mail using counterfeit postage, which cost the service about $60 million in revenue losses. Now, her husband had previously operated the business, but had left for China just days after he was interviewed by postal inspectors back in 2019. So go back to 2019, there's this business being run by this guy where he helps people ship stuff all over the United States for discounted postal rates. And the U.S. Postal Service inspectors come in and pay a call on him one day and speak to him about what he's doing. And he skedaddles for China. Now, his wife is left behind, apparently. So she thinks to herself, well, you know, He's gone back to China, but I got a business to run. If convicted of the charges, she faces up to 10 years in prison, according to the United States Attorney's Office. So, the Postal Service has been in a lot of trouble lately. The number of letters being sent has just plummeted. And it's largely because the internet has changed how we communicate via email and Zoom and Skype and, of course, TikTok. And so we find ourselves writing fewer and fewer letters. I can tell you, I've mentioned before, that at the end of every video is a P.O. box that I encourage people to send correspondence to. And people often send me things like shirts to wear or bumper stickers or knickknacks for my shelves behind me. I got one of the coolest t-shirts yesterday. And when I wear it on camera on the next day or two, I will stand up and explain how it is perhaps one of the coolest t-shirts I've ever seen in my entire life. And I don't even know who sent it to me. It came in a package without any return address on it in that respect. It came from a third-party shipper. Hopefully it wasn't sent by this woman, but but I've mentioned before that I like getting mail. And so it's funny, I get letters, and there's a guy named Jeff, who writes me letters, and fairly periodically. And I get these letters from Jeff, and I read them, and they're entertaining. And occasionally he emails me also. And he could email me all the time if he wanted to, but instead he writes letters to me because I said I enjoy getting analog mail. And I do. And there's something fun about it, to know that somebody went the trouble of handwriting out a message, folding up, sticking an envelope, addressing it, putting a stamp on it, and then getting it into the system. So the Postal Service is still out there through rain, snow, and sleet, et cetera, but the volume of stuff they've been shipping has been dropping and dropping and dropping. And so they've turned to other methods to make money. They sell your information. I got an email from somebody the other day telling me about how frustrated they were that they moved. And when they went to do the change of address form, they realized that when you fill that out, all it does is the Postal Service then sells that information as, hey, everybody, this guy moved. Here's his new address. And if you've ever moved in the last few years, you know that what happens is shortly after you move, you start getting bombarded with all kinds of stuff that says, oh, we understand you've moved. Would you like to have your drapes cleaned? Would you like to have your gutters cleaned? Would you like us to come in and rotate your refrigerator? I mean, just tons and tons of stuff. And it does come across as very intrusive. But one of the reasons they're doing that is that their revenues are way down. What else are they going to do, So they're doing everything they can. By the way, I'm not saying I agree with that. I don't think they should be allowed to sell our information. I do not. But I'm just pointing that out, that they're doing that as a way in an attempt to recover some of that revenue. But the crazy part is that I always thought, well, at the very least, they will always have a portion of the parcel delivery service. And of course, for many years, the UPS was out there, and UPS was competing with them on some level. But now you see Amazon vehicles driving around there delivering their own stuff. And Amazon's figured out, hey, it's cheaper for us in many cases to deliver our own stuff, their own fleet of vehicles, than to use the Postal Service. So they've done a complete end around. So I'm not sure how the Postal Service is going to survive. And if it does, it might wind up being a much smaller entity than it is right now. But when I hear a story like this and go, oh, there's $60 million they just lost. Now, of course, if these people hadn't had these discount rates presented to them, they may have used somebody else, like UPS or FedEx or somebody. But the point is, they cannot allow this kind of stuff to happen. So it looks like the husband got away, but they got the wife. And of course, she faces 10 years in prison if convicted. So that's the story, and I'll follow this if there are updates. So Daniel, thanks for sending it to me. KCAL, I believe it's Channel 9 out of LA. KCAL? Woman arrested for counterfeit postage scheme that cost the USPS an estimated $60 million. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. At least we were lost in the right direction this time.